Good afternoon and welcome to the latest edition of Lunchtime Learnings. Absolutely delighted to be joined by Andy Neal from Andrew & Co, Warner Gray, and an American office in Florida. So doesn't do things by half here. So incredibly busy. Andrew is one of the founder members of Andrew & Co that's been going 11 years. So Andrew, welcome. Thanks very much. Really grateful to give you time. So tell us how you got into estate agency in the first place and how you've grown your business to, well, maybe 5 offices, maybe 6 if you include America.
Yeah. So, yeah, thanks for having me on, first of all. How I got into estate, interesting one, how I got into it, just by chance. I mean, I'm going back almost 21 years now. I was selling suits for Moss Bros, and I was dealing with this chap one day, spent about an hour with him. I wasn't going to earn much commission out of it, but I thought, give him the time he deserves. Spent about an hour, bought a couple of suits, and he went off. But the next day he come back in and said, "Here's my card. If you ever want to be an estate agent, give me a call." And he worked for one of the big corporate agencies. So I thought that night, I spoke to my wife, or my girlfriend at the time, she's now my wife, and said, "Should I do this?" And why not? I believe in do something and learn later. So just why not? Took the chance and never looked back. And then, yeah, here we are today.
Amazing. So going from fitting people's suits to being an estate agent. So what were your first lessons when you started in the agency? Where did you start at? Started
for a corporate agency in a little town called Faversham, but it was phenomenally busy back then. I mean, I was in 2000, just towards 2001. Well, actually 2001. I think I remember my first week was when Twin Towers happened, and it was just all what's going on in the world. Just trying to sell houses, and then the first thing I ever sold was a houseboat. Literally on my second day. So it's really strange introduction to selling houses. But really good. I enjoyed it. It felt natural to me. I really enjoyed what I was doing. Yeah.
Brilliant. So how did you go then from working for an agency to becoming your own boss? What made you decide to do that and open your own agency?
So from the corporate I first started, I went to work for an independent who's now my next door neighbour. And I've been there a little while, but I was a sales manager. Then I had the associate partner above me and a director above him. So although I was a sales manager, I wasn't really going nowhere. There was no progression. I actually went to work for Zoopla when it worked as Property Finder at the time.
Okay.
And I was a sales rep for Property Finder. Then they got bought out by Zoopla, and I was probably the top salesperson in the region. I was doing really well. Wasn't really my cup of tea, but just gave me an insight to the online world, because it was obviously at that point it was changing loads. 12 years ago. And I got offered a chance to run an estate agency for a little old man in his 80s who was like giving up his office in a little village and said, "Why don't you come in and be self-employed and run my business?" But it just didn't work out. So after about 3 or 4 weeks, I just said, "I can't do this." So I sat down with my father-in-law and he said, "Well, why don't you go alone?" And we sat down, and again, I thought it was one of those opportunities where I'm going to do it and learn how to do it when I do it. So we set up Andrew & Co, over a cup of tea one night, and then, that's 2009. Never look back.
And then the rest is history.
Absolutely.
Brilliant. Yeah. So when you first opened then, and you set up on your own, how did you find that? How did you go out? Because there's a lot of people that we've got that are watching here that are thinking, I want to go by myself. I know what's going on at the moment, but how do they go out and get those first properties?
Do you know, it was tough, because I opened up in the recession 2009. It was tough, and a few people said, "You're nuts. Why do it now?" And I said, "Well, look, if I can make it work in the toughest possible time, I'll make it good when it's a good time." So it was tough. I had no salary, next to no income, touting, going out knocking on doors. It was tough, but it was just a matter of knocking on doors, leaflet, not just doing leaflets and thinking, "Why isn't the phone rung?" Doing leaflets and doing them again next month, and doing them every single month consistently. I had a good location, and it wasn't as good as we got now, but it was still a off the high street location, which I think, regardless of all the online agents out there today, I believe high street presence is critical. I really do believe that. And we've got 5 prominent locations that people know us. It builds your brand. It's in the public eye. But it's just a lot of groundwork. You don't be afraid to get your sleeves rolled up and get out there and do it. People, no one owes you anything. You're not going to come to you for nothing.
Okay, so you talked there about my favorite C word, consistency. So, what were you doing to be that disciplined to get out month in, month out, to be doing that door knocking, that leafleting?
I had incentives at the time. 6 months after opening the business, my son was born. He was born at home. I delivered him at 6:20 in the morning with my wife, and my mum was there. She's a midwife. I was hands on, but by 9 o'clock I was in the office. It was literally, good job, love. I've got to go work. And it was just getting out and delivering things through doors or on the market with agents, finding agents or houses that have been on the market for a long time. They may be sick of their agent. So I was taking that stock that was maybe difficult to sell, but that, they're the kind of people that were willing to jump and try different agents because they're fed up with what they've been doing or the agent hasn't been doing. And it's just a matter of keep on consistently following up with people, knocking on doors. Money's in the follow-up. It really is. So just follow up until you get it. Until they tell you, don't ever bother me again, keep going. So, because eventually they're going to come to you. They will remember you.
Okay, brilliant. So did you go from one office to 4 or 5 straight away, or did you go from one to 2?
1 to 2. Opened a second one about a year and a half after the first one in a sleepy little town, Lid on Sea, if anyone knows it, right down on the coast. Then we progressed into New Romney from there. So we opened that one. And I just, I've always had a philosophy: if the right agent comes along, employ the agent and build an office around that person. So we had a couple of opportunities where somebody wanted to come and work for us, and they were great at their job, but they wouldn't have fit in what we already had in terms of the offices, the locations. So we then found an opportunity to open an office to fit that person because we knew they'd make it work. So we carried on like that. And they're just looking for opportunities in places, maybe not right in a town, but in just outside a town that had a lot of footfall, and we progressed that way. So yeah, we got to 4 Andrew & Co offices, and then we bought the Warner Gray brand 2017.
Okay, so and that's a pretty high-end brand. So
It is.
how do you find with the different markets?
The good thing about Warner Gray, we kept it separate because it's very well known in the market that it's in. So we kept it separate. It runs itself. Employed someone that is fantastic in that area of value of marketing. It runs itself. It's really busy because, especially in today's market with the COVID, everyone's moving out of London and coming down here. So 1 in 4 of our buyers come from London. So the brands run completely separate. In fact, I actually had a valuation a couple of weeks ago, and they said, we've also got Warner Gray coming out. I said, well, let you in a little secret. It could be me coming to see you. So, we won the listing because there's no point having the 2 agents out. So we do work together, but we try to keep it separate, and it works quite well.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. So, America.
Okay.
So you went to America, you opened there?
Yeah, did. The driving force behind it was my love of Florida. I've been going there since I was about 5. I'm 41 now. I've been going there since I was a kid. My uncle had moved there in the 80s. Just holidays every summer I fell in love with it. My wife also had the same impression with her family, and they actually moved out there about 6 years ago. So my father-in-law and a friend of his set up a brokerage, as we call them over there, with himself, and then I transferred over there in June of 2017 to go and help them run it. So it was a joint venture, and then we acquired some other agencies down in Fort Myers in South Florida, which has about 70 odd agents. So between Orlando and Fort Myers, we have 3 offices.
Wow, amazing.
Mm.
So what are the similarities and differences that you've noticed between the States and between here?
There's probably more differences than there is similarities. The process is the same. You show somebody a house, you sell a property. I don't like to say sell a property. You sell someone's home. Property's soulless word. I think you're selling someone's home. We need to remember that it's someone's home we're selling. The big thing over there is they're more demanding of your time. So it's not 9 to 5:30 job, and it's not here anymore. But in the States, it was. If I go on holiday, my phone and laptop go with me at all times because people don't give you holiday. You're working for that person 24 hours a day to sell their property, and they're more demanding of your time because they pay you a lot more money. You've got to be willing to do the hard work. I don't mind laying on a sunbed with a beer on the phone talking to clients. That's fine, but I'm still working. So the difference over there is there is no time off. You've got to. I had to adapt quite quickly, but not only that, I went to a market where there was 15,000 individual agents, because every agent, you might work for Keller Williams, for example, but you're still an independent agent working for yourself. So I was in a market, one of the busiest markets in America, because Orlando is the biggest tourist place ever. So everyone's a realtor because they think they can sell all these homes. But the reality is the average agent in America sells 4 homes a year. My first year I sold 28. So, again, it was just getting in there, doing work and doing the hard stuff.
Okay.
And
So I've got loads of questions for you. So one, it must be lovely to get 6% fees over there. So was that a shock? Was that I suppose more importantly, when you came back or when you went over there and you saw the difference in fees, maybe that's why they only do 4 transactions a year.
Yeah.
Why do how do the Americans justify getting 6%? I know that maybe 3% seller and 3% from the buyer. Whether you can act for both on both transactions, I'm sure you tell me. But that's a massive difference in investments in services. Where especially as the average UK fee here is about 1%.
Yeah, the thing is over there, you don't have to justify your fee because people expect to pay it. I had instances where I had one seller say to me, Andy, if I pay you 7%, will you put more effort in selling my house? So, well, look, I'm going to put effort in at 6%, believe me, but give me 7%. Yeah, it's going to incentivize me even more. And it's going to incentivize the buyer's agent at 3.5% as opposed to 3%. So over there, they don't mind paying you money because they know you're out there to sell it to 2 markets. My job as a realtor in Florida was to sell it to my fellow agents. Most importantly, sell it to my fellow agents. So then they go and sell it to their buyers. If I sold it to my own buyers, which is very rare, I'd get the full 6%, which is amazing. It's very rare that happens. So it's a completely different mindset when it comes to fees. It's hardly a conversation. And then you never get chosen on fee, ever. So it's completely different over here. It's too scared to ask for anything more than 1.5% over here because they kick you out.
So how did you manage then so 28 is fantastic. So well done to you. So, how did you manage to make 28 home sales?
So the first thing I'd done was hire a coach, and I hired Tom Ferry, as you all know.
Tom Ferry's exceptional. Yeah.
Yeah. So I hired Tom Ferry, and one of the first things he said was, get comfortable being uncomfortable. And that resonated with me a little bit because it is uncomfortable when you're doing stuff you don't like doing. Being on camera for the first time is horrible, and it's not comfortable. But my mindset was get comfortable being uncomfortable, and I live by that now. And it was just having the problem with there being so many realtors in the States is that it might be someone's auntie got their license because they're friends on the market, or they sell 1 house or 2 houses a year because they just got a license. They didn't do it full time. But over there, agents are very lazy. You think here we're listing however many homes we list a month. We're constantly working. Over there, they list 1 house, and I think that's enough because they're okay with earning 3% on a $500,000 house, and that's enough money for 1 month. So a lot of agents don't sell a lot because they're lazy. And I found over there, if you work hard, you will get a lot of income, a lot of transaction. It's all cold calling in the States. Completely cold calling. That's how you get your business. You sit there all day and you get knockback after knockback, but eventually one of them is going to say yes, and that makes you want to call the next 200 knockbacks to get that other yes. So an agent like that don't like doing it. Don't get me wrong, there's some amazing agents earning millions of dollars over there, but the majority are lazy and they don't like doing the work. And that was where I done well because I was happy to get out there and do it. I had to prove myself.
So I think Tom Ferry is one of the best coaches in the world. What did you learn from Tom? Share some of his nuggets. Share his gold.
Look, Tom's big belief is you get up early before everyone else. Everyone's still asleep. You're doing most of your work to set your day up before everyone's even up. You do your affirmations in the morning. I wasn't big into affirmations, but his big thing is get up, you do your affirmations, what you're grateful for, you get your mindset, you do a bit of reading, you get yourself ready for when 8 o'clock comes, you're starting calling people while everyone else is having breakfast. From what I learned from Tom, is all about structuring your days, being consistent, and being consistently good at what you do and being committed. It's all about commitment. Level 10 commitment is his motto. He's got a whole level thing, branded t-shirts and things, and just doing the work, getting out there and doing the work, making your phone calls. They do events where you go to these events and everyone's bouncing off each other and they're making their calls in front of each other. It's fantastic. They really get you motivated. And you have a weekly call with your coach. He'll kick your butt if you haven't done your calls. They target you to do your calls. It's up to me if I do it, and I'm paying this guy to kick my butt to do it. So you're motivated to want to do it. So I think the structure and the consistency is what he's really good at.
Okay, well, we've got Andy Ogerman on here watching. So hi, Andy. Hi, Damien. Hi, Eddie. Eddie says he misses the cold calling. I don't know whether you were out in the States, Eddie, as well. But we were very fortunate that Tom came over here and spoke at the Spice of Heart conference.
That's it, I remember, yeah.
And Luke, Andy, and myself managed to do a Facebook Live with him for about an hour. And Tom Panos was also there as well.
Oh, yeah.
So we managed to do Facebook Live with both of them. And it was absolutely incredible. And they were just talking, and we felt like we were flies on the wall where we shouldn't be there, listening what they were saying. Morning or afternoon, Pete. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, Tom Ferry is phenomenal.
So did you go? You went to his summit?
Yeah, I've been to loads of their events. We go to about 4 events a year around the States.
Yeah,
it's really good.
So no, because I follow Tom and listen to all his podcasts as well. So
yeah,
if you're not watching Tom Ferry, you should be. Go onto his YouTube channel. Go onto his. He's got a blog where he sends out loads of great stuff, and it's really, really useful. And the best thing is, the content's free.
It is.
And then if you want somebody to hold you accountable, then it's great. So having a coach, I mean, let's just go down that route, and then I want to bring it back and ask you a few other questions. So you talked about accountability there and somebody kicking your butt. Why do you think that's so important to have a coach?
It keeps you motivated, because to me, he wasn't my boss. I'm not accountable to him really, because he's just a coach, but I'm paying him to do something for me. So I want to make sure that my money, one, is well spent. But I know if I do the right things by listening to him, that's a proven genius in this field, I'm going to do well. So in a way, sometimes if I hadn't done the amount of calls he'd set me, I was a little bit worried about what he's going to say to me. He's going to tell me off. It gets you in that mindset of, unless I'm a teacher, I'm going to get told off for not doing my calls. So it makes you want to do it. But not only that, if I have an issue and I'm in a new market, a new country, just pick up the phone and have a conversation. And it's just the way they help you do stuff. It is fantastic. I can't look at all the best teams in the world. They'll hire the best coaches. The guys are training are fantastic what they do, but they get better and better with the right coaching.
Yeah, I remember. I'm sure he told the story that he got somebody to say, right, if you make this amount of calls, that's fantastic. But if you don't message me at the end of every day, I'm going to send you a present, and you're going to have to eat that present. And it was cat food.
Yeah, it surprised me. Yeah, but not only that, they do things where, because obviously in America you've got different time zones. So I was on the East Coast. So in the morning we'd have one of his top coaches, and we'd do a session like this, but everyone would be on the call doing their live cold calling, while the coaches on there geeing you up, and you post, got a call, got an appointment. So everyone's like watching each other around the country. And then the next hour, someone else would take over, and it'd finish with Tom on the West Coast. And it was just this buzz of, one day I think we booked across the country like 3,500 valuations just from cold calling. And it's just this buzz that they give you to make you want to do your calling. I enjoy cold calling.
So what have you brought back from your time in the States then? So you must be the best prospecting company in Kent.
It's different. The prospecting we do here is different to what you do there, because over there there's so many for sale by owners that are basically saying to you, I want to sell my house, but I'm trying to do it myself because I don't want to pay you the fee. But in reality, if they knew what you're due for them, you can sell it for more money in the first place. So the difference over here is we don't know who our sellers are until they come to them, tell us. But in America, they're telling you they want to sell their house. So you pick up the phone and you've got really good leads to call. So over here, we're doing lots of leafleting, things like that. But that's just all standard stuff. But I think in a way, it's being in America has taught me to have some downtime over here. We still work in the evenings. We have WhatsApp groups of our solicitors and our sellers, but it's taught me more than anything to have some downtime, because I never got it in the States. But it's also taught me the importance of marketing. So I know that everyone's doing video in the UK now, but they never used to. When I went to the States, everyone done video, but not just, a mobile phone and do a selfie. It was a proper video. I employed professionals to do videos. That's part of earning a 6% fee. You don't mind spending $2,000 to market at home. It's a risk, but you do it because you know you're going to earn a good fee. You wouldn't see that here. But we now, especially on our Warner Gray brand, every single property has a professional video that we pay a few £100s for. So it's taught me that you can't just click and point and click a camera anymore. You've got to do the right things. You've got to market properly, and you've got to put the effort in.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you. So you talked about WhatsApp groups there, and you've got solicitors and you've got your colleagues in there. And how do you find that? Is that something, again, that works really well for you?
Really well. Sellers love it. I mean, if they can just WhatsApp us and go, what's going on? They know that we've seen it. We can't hide behind our emails and say we never got it. So it's putting ourselves in the firing line, but that again keeps you motivated to get what they want. And some of the solicitors we have good relationships with, they don't mind being in a WhatsApp group at 8 o'clock at night, updating you what's going on. So just communication, absolutely key. And again, from the States, I didn't have an office phone like we do here. My mobile was my life, and every single seller had it. So I get hounded all the time. And again, it's the same here. We give out our mobile to clients here now because we're an all-in service. We are all in now. It's not a 5:30 we shut and we go home. We're all in, and that's key.
Okay, so one of the things that fascinates me here in the UK is that 95% of agents have no stay in touch policy.
Right.
The Americans, I've always found, have been pretty good, and they have various touch points along the way after you've bought a property. So again, is there anything you've brought back from the States that you're now implementing and got a really good stay in touch policy?
Yes, interesting point. With the MLS, they give you lots of tools, and one of them is that no one ever uses in the States, but they should. It's a tool that sends out automatic updates on the market in that area for that person. So I do that on every single person. I can see when they've read it, and I obviously moved back here over a year now. Not much activity, but only last week, the week before, I had a call from someone that I saw as a cold call prospect. Wasn't ready at the time. And she emailed me last week, or phoned me last week, and said, I want to put the house on the market. It's $750,000 listing at 6%, because I kept staying in touch. I didn't stay in touch, but the system allowed me to do it. So it looked like I was staying in touch. So we've taken on some software here in the UK that allows us to do the introduction and the follow-up for as long as we set it for. And like I said at the start of the conversation, the money is in the follow-up. It really, really is. And again, like you say, there's so many, I've seen it even in our own business where other homes go on the market, and you look back through your database and haven't been contacted since the email went out or the letter went out after the valuation. If we would have carried on calling them weekly, we're front of mind, that we would have won so much more business. So we've definitely upped our game in terms of follow-up now, massively.
Okay, so are you allowed to share what the name of that product is?
I'm allowed to share. Whether I want to, I don't know, because my competitors might be watching it. But it's out there. It's out there. You go onto Kerfuffle. They're really good, and yeah.
Okay, so for me, one of the best tools out there is Akiboom.
That's the one.
There you go. So I think Akiboom is exceptional. I think it does make a massive difference. I think it's fantastic that you can send the appraisal, I suppose, video or whatever, or slide, and you can see what they're opening on. So if they're opening on marketing, right, that's what I'm going to talk about on the appraisal. I love the fact that as soon as you walk out the appraisal, within 30 seconds, you can send them a templated, personalized message, marketing report. And I love the fact after that you can see exactly when they're reading it. You can see when they're opening it, and straight away you've got access to call them, and they go, "God, that's a bit strange. I was thinking about you." "Oh, really?" And you've also got the instruct me one. And then I think you're spot on. I think what I think is exceptional as well is what you've just said. So, to have a stay in touch policy. So if something similar comes up in their road, then actually straight away you can send it to them, and you get an idea.
Mm.
So really good. Hi, Sarah. Thank you and goodbye. Hi, Ben. Nice to see you. Hi. Oh, we've got a few people now. Rob, Harry, thanks very much for joining us. Here you go. Popular in Kent.
There you go. Look at that.
Very good. So thanks very much. So yeah, so I think Akiboom is exceptional. One thing I want to come back to, and you mentioned, you touched on it, and finding the right people, and you actually put them in the right places and open branches with them, is recruitment. So, obviously you are very good at recruiting. What tips would you have for people watching today to go out and recruit? I mean, you said about, finding these right people, they're self-employed, they're going in there. How did you come across them?
One of the keys for us is, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong here, but I think a lot of agents in this country look at other agents as, oh, the other agent, the competitor, don't like them. Build relationships with your fellow agents. Not only do you get to know more about them as a person, if you want to employ them, you get to know more about them as a competitor and how they run their business. We've got to know so many agents over the years that I know that there's some out there I wouldn't touch with a barge pole in terms of employing, but others I'd love to employ. In fact, right now we're looking for a manager in one of our offices, and we're really carefully looking at certain people who we want. And it's tough. It really is at the moment, because there's not. When you look for a manager, you need specific attributes, and it's finding the right person to fit your brand. Not everyone's going to fit. You might be the best salesperson in the world, but it doesn't mean you're going to fit within our company. So building relationships with your competitors is really important, I think. Really important.
Okay. And then how'd you go about and build the culture of your team as well?
A lot of them will know about us before they come and join, because going back to employing those people that know about us. So we do a lot of in-house training. Myself and Matt, we've been doing it a long time. So we try to get them to work along to our methods and build it that way. I mean, I like to think we're quite an open, straight talking agent. My philosophy is people buy from people. I might have the best software in the world and I might be the best salesman in the world, but if someone don't like me, they're not going to use me, are they? So it's about all your people and making sure people treat people the way that they want to be treated. It's an old saying, but it's true, isn't it?
100%. So if I'm starting tomorrow, what sort of onboarding would you give me?
First thing I'll do is probably sit you down with one of our senior managers, just to listen, just to shadow, follow what they do, learn what they do. But not only that, we do a lot of training. You've done training with us in the past, lots of Tom Ferry stuff, and make them watch that. So we do lots of things to get them into the mindset of how we want to be. Take them out with us. They come out on valuations and viewings with us as well. So we try and do as much as we can without throwing in deep end. But most of the time, anyone that comes to work with us has got experience. So they know what they're doing. It's just adapting to our way of working. Okay. And it's very rare. I can't remember the last time we employed someone that hadn't had experience in the industry.
Okay. And what about yourself? Obviously you had Tom Ferry as a coach. What are you doing to continuously learn and improve?
Well, I think COVID's making us adapt to things, isn't it? I think change is forced upon us at the moment. So we're always looking at ways to not streamline, but do things differently. And in fact, after the first lockdown, when everyone was cutting back and getting rid of people, we employed more people, because I sensed that there was going to be a bottleneck of people before the stamp duty announcement. And luckily we were right. We're lucky enough to have everyone back working safely at the moment. So we're still busy. It could be busier, but we're having to adapt with technology, with videos. A lot of people hate doing videos, but every crap video that I do is better than my competitors that don't do them. So it's just adapting to the modern times, I guess.
And what sort of videos do you find have more success and work well?
The best ones, well, we do, depends on the property. Our Warner Gray brand is lots of soft music and lots of things in the house that make it pop. Like not staging, but really high-end videos with drones and walkthrough videos. Lettings we let most of our properties off of a walkthrough video of a handheld gimbal. We do the same for sales as well. So we do a video on every property, send it to the applicant before they view it, and it eliminates time wasters. So video is really important, but I think people like to engage with people. So having yourself in a video with one of your colleagues filming you walk around and show the house as if they're a viewer is really good. It's not nice, it's not comfortable being a camera, but just do it anyway, because it shows the house more. Be enthusiastic about what you're showing rather than just walk around and point into the house. Point things out in person. It works much better.
100%. So I'm really grateful for your time and thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Two final questions. So any books you can recommend or podcasts? I know you've spoken about Tom Ferry, that you really rate and have resonated and made a difference with you.
Yeah, so another guy I know is a guy called Ryan Serhant in New York.
Yeah.
Ryan,
Good.
I've met,
I've asked him to be a guest. So when you speak to him next,
I don't speak to him anymore.
will you give him a nudge?
I can email. I got his email. We spoke on email a few times. I met him. He had a very exclusive event he done with 1,000 people, and got to meet him and speak to him for a little while. And he's brilliant. I actually joined his. He had a coaching program that he'd done, and there's lots of live sessions on there, so you can talk. And he's great. Really, really good the way he does stuff. I'd read his book, Sell It Like Serhant. That's a really good book. Gary Keller's book as well, The Millionaire Real Estate Agent, is a good book as well. I'd recommend reading that one.
Yeah, I've read that. Okay, and final question. So thank you. Knowing what you know now, if you were starting again, what would you do differently?
What would I do differently? I don't know if I would. I'm quite pleased with the way things have gone. I'd introduce. It's hard to say because I wouldn't know back then about video and things. But looking back, if we had phones, we should have done things a lot sooner. It's hard to say. You stumped me that one because I'm quite pleased with the way that the business is going. I don't know. I guess using our database more would be something I'd do more, and we are starting to do more because our database is a goldmine of people that are out there looking to sell at some point that we don't even talk to. So that's something again this year we're implementing more. It's going back through our database and speaking to old people. So I would be on the phones more. From being in the States, being cold calling, be on the phones more, because that phone, I used to put a label on my phone saying I earn you money. So I'd pick it up. Right. So be on your phone more, phone your buyers. Might be boring, but it's going to earn you money.
Couldn't agree more. My favorite subject. Andy, thank you so much for your time. Incredibly grateful. Thank you all for watching. Really appreciate it, whether you're watching or listening on replay. Next Tuesday, subject to nothing going on in the world of politics, I'm going to be joined by Kevin Holland-Rake, the MP. And I don't know whether to say ex-owner of Hunters, but I know that's going through with the Property Franchise Group. So I'm excited to have Kevin on. And next Thursday, I'm going to be joined by Ian Story, who's exceptional agent. I'm going to learn more about his journey and his story. So thanks very much for joining me. Thanks for joining Andy. And look forward to seeing you all again listening next Tuesday. Have a good rest of the week, everybody. Thank you.
Cheers, David. Thank you.